The closer you are, the better people are going to listen to you.
A lot of things are happening before we even start. The hair.
There is, I mean,
I prefer comfort over vanity, honestly.
that's a comfort over vanity all the time, or do you change the order of importance depending on the occasion?
It depends on the occasion, and that's why I believe in understanding how to show up for people and how that would affect your goals, right? Like if you are,
It makes sense.
yeah.
Pull it up to you.
Let's do this.
Like this.
Is it closer? A little too close.
This you need
cool.
you need to be able to actually steal a kiss from the mic. Exactly. There you go.
This is
You're
better.
perfect.
This is better. I can actually whisper.
That was very interesting what you were saying. Is dressing for the occasion.
Yes.
But this, and this is something that is not very, how to say, in line with the times. Now I live in a world in which everyone seems to be dressed in overalls and in gym wear.
Yes.
And you see me here like this. If you see me on a normal Wednesday, you would see me with suit, with jacket, with a shirt. It's very important to be able to change and to adapt to any occasion.
I agree. I do agree. I believe like I'd like to dress more casual and comfortable, but there is a certain expectation of how I need to show up in certain, like you said, situations or environments. I believe it's also an act of respect, right? Like if you have an important client meeting, you're going to dress up. If you're with friends, I think it's okay to dress down. If you're at a cool interview like this, we can keep it half casual, half formal. I think we both have the collars and the shirt.
It's true. I think there is a wrong misconception about the fact that if you adapt to different situations, you're kind of like, how to say, not being faithful to yourself. And I think if you are very sure of who you are, you can adapt to any situation without actually breaking that core of your personality, isn't it?
No, I believe that. But some people can get lost in it, especially if people aren't really too confident in who they want to be. Then they start dressing up just for people. Have you ever I don't know if you see these comments, but women go through them where they dress a certain way. And there are lines from people online that would say, oh, you should dress a certain way so that you don't attract specific eyeballs or the attention, that unwanted attention. But the truth is we dress for ourselves, and people kind of get a different idea about that. So it's complicated as a woman when it comes to dressing up.
Yeah. There are two things I want to say on that. Number one, I mean, we just met, but I will give you my friendliest advice.
Yes.
Or not only to you. My friendliest proposition to everyone. Let's just not read what people write online.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, don't take it. You can read it. You should read it. Don't take it seriously.
You think you should read it?
Yes.
I think it's a dangerous game because I think I have a strong personality. But I am vulnerable to reading wrong things about me. So I just prefer, I would, look.
Wait, did you say you're vulnerable about reading what people think about you?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
If I see that something is written bad about me, luckily I have, let's say, the balance between positive and negative inputs in my life.
Yes.
It's way on favor of the positive. But when you read one that says something that is, let's say, makes you, it's painful in a certain way.
It makes you question yourself.
It makes you question. So you shouldn't, because my logic is this.
Okay.
Maybe I'm projecting how I live into others, but I don't have time for that bullshit. So when I'm online, I see things, and the maximum things I do is either I like or I share or maybe I scroll and I don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have the luxury of time to spend and writing things like you should dress less to not attract people. So by reverse engineering is that the person who have
has
the people have
time
that time
to write it
are way troubled in many other ways.
Yes, because they're projecting.
Yeah,
This
they're lonely.
this is their only outlet.
Exactly.
I don't know about you. So this is new to me. I've gone through a lot of transformations on who Sarah V is to me, right? I used to be whatever this person in front of me wants me to be. If you had met me 4 years ago, I'd be sitting here being the perfect podcast guest for you. But I'm just coming in as me. This is a new realization. I go through these comments now and I read them because I read them because I have a different understanding of people's traumas. I'm not a psychologist. I'm like a book psychologist. Like I read it in my own time. I'm a fan of how the brain works and, you know, the history, like even anthropology is very, very interesting to me. So reading people's comments on Instagram or Facebook or even YouTube channels, and they're either trying to offend someone or they're extremely offended. My colleague, Liz, she gets a kick out of posting reels to offend people, not on purpose, but she's just herself. And I read these comments, and this is the realization. I love reading them because it really makes you understand people more. That's the first thing. But it also teaches you how you want to live your life. You don't want to be offended at somebody's choices at such a low level, because that just shows that there's something that's triggering you that you need to figure out. So if I read a comment online and it triggered me, which is probably 1 out of 10, then it's like, oh, this is something I could possibly work on. So I would encourage those that are self-aware enough not to lose your shit at the comments.
Yeah, it's true.
Go read it. Go read some.
So
you'll learn about yourself.
So the second part, I think, is a very healthy perspective. I dare to disagree on the first part. I am just not interested in knowing that type of people. But because when, for example, I see reprobable behaviors online of men versus women, women versus women, everyone against everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't represent let's say, truthful sample of the society I live in. Like most of the most extreme behaviors that I see online, is like, I don't have friends like this. It's like really literally, or maybe I have one out of 200 or 300. I think they are overrepresented, and I have this attitude because I really, I'm not gonna shut their mouth physically.
Yeah.
But mentally, it's like, you know, you don't belong in my world. You can write whatever, but you don't belong in my world. Actually, I said I was vulnerable to things that are painful, but to stupid comments, I think I'm getting a little bit more mature. I had a
Why?
Because I have more important things in life.
But also because you know that these people don't know you well enough. I would say you have a certain level of understanding of your value, right?
Yeah.
Like these people clearly don't know me enough. It'll offend me for 2 seconds and then.
Yeah, for example, I'll tell you an example. I have a comment in one of my videos. I had here Walter Watz, who is a personal trainer. He is from France, and he created this initiative called G-Class, in which, you know about it, in which he trains Filipino domestic helpers for free on every now and then.
Great initiative.
I think it's fantastic.
Yes.
So I was asking to him about it, and you know, at the same time I was talking about this. That was right after probably I mentioned the fact that I had some very unhealthy habits when it comes to nutrition and so on.
You said that to a personal trainer.
And I said, and I said, you know, I think it's fantastic that you take a community that is, let's say, traditionally or generally, they have very unhealthy habits when it comes to nutrition and sports, and you try to educate them in a certain way. So someone in the comments made in understood that I was meaning that every Filipino is a domestic helper, and every domestic helper has bad healthy habits,
Yes.
and thus every Filipino has bad health.
That's what they got out
looking.
of what you were saying.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
they got, and I'm like, wow, I'm not even gonna reply to that. It's just that doesn't make any sense, because I was actually talking about a certain thing that is, in my opinion, very obvious. This community, they have a lot of restrictions when it comes to their life. That and just the conditions of their existence don't allow them to have healthy habits.
Yes.
They don't even have the information.
We don't have that many options if we don't fight for the options.
Exactly.
It's what brings me to topics like equity, right? Like equality is everybody gets the same piece of pie, but equity is about, what if this person is allergic to gluten? Are they going to get served the pie? But we're talking about equality over equity. What is it? Sorry, we just jumped over a waterfall there.
It's true. Let's get back to you, please. So,
Yes.
Sarah V, thank you for making it. Finally, we got to talk, and now I feel.
Are we gonna tell them how long it took us?
No. I feel like just from the half an hour that we've been talking before the podcast, this conversation was meant to be. I met you. I was saying that before. I remember when you added me on LinkedIn, long time ago, and I've seen, as a spectator, your evolution as an entrepreneur in Hong Kong. Before from a distance, now a little bit closer, because I have friends that have collaborated with you,
Yes.
so they have spoken to me about you, and you strike me as the future of how an entrepreneur has to be, and that path that you're taking is not an easy one, and this is why I wanted to talk to you. I want to pick your brain on how has your journey been into becoming this public entrepreneur that you are nowadays, the bright side, the dark side, and everything between. My question to you is, you came here, and before we started recording, you did already a story, and you communicated to your community what you were doing and so on.
Yes.
And this is something that apparently, from following you on social media, you do as a second skin. Is it something like this, or it requires a lot of effort from your side?
I believe that I do it because I am just honest about my actions. Most people, earlier we were talking about what we do to please others, and most people would post things that they think their audience would like. I don't really care much for my Instagram engagement, so I've posted quite a few unappealing opinions that others couldn't take. But what you see on my Instagram is really just me. If I'm posting that I'm at home with my kid, that's me, and it's going to get low engagement. But if I'm here doing work or having a conversation, I'll post about it too, because I like to share it. I think it has become second skin because I've been in the marketing game for a very long time. But I also believe marketing is a way of thinking. It's not a 1 to 10 checklist process. It's about understanding what people need to see, or educating them on even services or solutions that they don't know about, right? And why you think they should.
When did you understand that this was something important for the future of your business? When it was
Marketing?
an integral part? Let's say, no, I don't want to say selling yourself. I want to say communicating openly who you are. Because this is something that I want to repeat something that I said before.
Yes.
Like when I mentioned about my grandmother and virginity. So I think the newer generation, we look at our obsession with privacy as we looked at the obsession of virginity of our grandparents. It's something that just the line between my private life and my public life will be much more blurred. Of course, there is always the secret cabinet in which we
won't
put our
show.
in which that we don't communicate to anyone. But now there is a big upside in communicating to people who we are.
Yes.
Did you understand that right away, or you found out?
I found out as I was building the community. I found out that it's so important to really just be yourself, because the reality is social media was fun and easy at the start, right? I don't know if you downloaded Instagram. I think it was 2007 or 8.
I was a little bit late, but yeah,
I
2010.
I think 2007 was Facebook, and then Instagram came. But it was just posting the randomest things without thought, without people judging you. And as people found out that you could get popular or famous, or your happy chemicals would kick in with the amount of likes you get or the comments, people started to use it like a drug.
Mm-hmm.
Then the authenticity of using it out the window, right? Now I'm posting and editing so that I could get likes or have a good brand. I felt like that's necessary when you're building a business and a brand, but everyone, especially after COVID, everyone was mentally drained, exhausted, right? We were so tired of seeing what's perfect because we were all going through some shit. Like, is it just me? I'm sure you've asked this question, like, am I the only one going through this deep stress, like the distress? Like, do I say it out loud? But, we're not supposed to be so public about the things that we're struggling with. And then what happens is everybody's not talking about their struggles. Then you end up feeling guilt or even shame for struggling because nobody else is going through it. So you must be the problem. So building Women of Hong Kong, I realized that it was such a struggle. And I'm pretty sure that if I don't speak up very soon, I might not be able to continue building the community. One of my first times, in being really honest, was just posting a blank background with a note that says, I think I'm burning out. And the amount of messages I received from members and friends, that woke me up to what social media was doing to us. It was asking us, not directly, but subconsciously asking us to make sure we look perfect and we look good, and we only show when we're going to a podcast and not actually going to the doctor because our mental health is going on decline. We're not supposed to talk about therapy. We're not supposed to talk about maybe we're discussing divorce with lawyers. I know that there's things that we keep private, but at the end of the day, we're still all people. And what does it really mean to be people, to contribute to humanity? If every action we take every day doesn't help somebody else, what are we doing? Yeah. So I think that was my cue to be honest online.
Yeah, I think I like the approach. I have a totally different one, but there is a common denominator. Back in 2020, I canceled all of my apps in my phone.
Yeah.
Because it was damaging me so much. I was bleeding money because of, I had a company back then, and it was just wrong time, wrong place.
Yeah.
So I started a company, and then what I was seeing online was the first version, which was actually not accurate. It was like the best 5% of people's lives.
Yes.
And
exactly.
when you're going through a rough period, and you're seeing only the 5 best percent of the people that are doing good, just it's like whipping yourself in the back.
You don't
want
to see that.
So I didn't want to see it, and I said, okay, I just need to just focus, tunnel vision. I need to get out of here, and I mean, out with Instagram, out with Facebook, out with everything, and I had to do it because people have forgotten one of the key lessons that our parents taught us. At least my parents taught me. We were never rich when I was growing up, but certainly there is always someone poorer than you. So my parents always told me, when you go to school, if there is a kid that doesn't have what you have, don't show off. If I had some gypsies in my class in primary school, and it's not like I had new shoes every day, but
Yeah.
if I had new shoes, I would certainly not go and tell them, look at my new shoes. And that's a practice of, developing world, I
But that's
guess.
self-awareness as well.
Yeah, but that's the opposite of what people do now in social media.
know.
So now we are like harming ourselves, and I believe that a lot of the tension that happens in society, in every country nowadays, comes from the fact that there is this type of resentment being fueled every day by people showing off. So that's why I'm not. By the way, I'm not popular on Instagram. I think I have less than 400 people following me. This is a new account, but I don't care. Like, I'm very, very tiny fish. But even though I'm a tiny fish, I have.
You're not tiny fish.
No, I'm a tiny
Sorry,
fish.
the encouragement in me had to kick in. Like, I don't
Thank you,
accept
thank you.
self-depreciating comments.
But I know. It's realism. It's realism. I know the numbers.
Okay.
But the thing is this: I have this series. I put every 2-3 pictures. I put hotel windows. Okay. Because people, I travel a lot for work. And last week I was in Japan, and then I'll go to Thailand next week, and then I was in Australia, and then I was in Italy. And if I tell you like this, you might think that, I'm like, the jet,
a jet setter.
The big Yuppie flying everywhere and, eating oysters and caviar. So in order to debunk this idea that my friends in Spain might have of me, I put pictures from my hotel room that very often they look into the back of buildings, into an ugly wall, into a parking lot. And because I think it's nice I'm a little bit more shy than you when it comes to sharing my internal problems. But I think just selling, showing an average of the reality of your life is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I like some nice stuff, but I will never show it on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I have some nice things that I was able to buy throughout the years because I work hard and I put some money away.
Mm-hmm.
But you're never gonna see that because you just need to show a part of yourself that it's maybe open to the extent that you're comfortable with, but truthful. This is my point. So, and this is what I like about you. And the reason why I don't probably open so much is because I am very scared about the price I would have to pay. And I want to ask you: is there a price to pay of being so open in social media?
Yes, and I definitely only discovered that as I went on this very honest journey. People, you mentioned this earlier, people will often project how they feel about themselves. And there's a great number of wonderful people that are as excited or happy for the achievements that I've been able to acquire. However, there are a fair few that see these accomplishments as almost a challenge to self. I think I'm trying to articulate in my head because this is something my my therapist
No, to me it makes sense, but take your time.
Yes. So my therapist mentioned, because I did mention to her that why have I had situations where I've had good friends that suddenly the friendship turns sour?
Mm-hmm.
And she would ask me to elaborate, and I would mention very early on, when I was building Women of Hong Kong, I had a really good friend that was very supportive of my ideas before it came to fruition. She was there from the ideation. She saw me build things, and as I got busier building the website, I wasn't able to spend as much time with her as I normally did. And that was my first sign of she might be resentful of me. But I was saying, but we're friends. I'm sure she understands that I'm building this for the future. Another little honest quip about myself is that financially, I have struggled quite a lot in my life. I might still be going through bits of that. So my priorities in life are a little bit more different. If it's COVID and I have one shot at making this business work, I'm going to put all the eggs in that basket, and I won't have time for lunch with my friends, right?
Yep.
Like I really have to hustle. And my friend who was supportive then, I remember the first very successful Women of Hong Kong event was at the Lawn Club with 220 people in the midst of COVID. We had regulations where people sat in fours, so it was still legal, if anyone needs to hear that part. But after the event, she had given me advice that actually surprised me, and I wasn't sure where it was coming from. She had told me, Sarah, this is great and all, your very first event, and after 6 months of hard work, it's getting somewhere, but make sure to, keep your ego in check, because I was reposting a lot of the stories that people tagged of me. I was a little surprised. I was like, I'm pretty sure my ego's in check, but I'll do that. But as the friendship progressed alongside with the journey of building the community, we just kept splitting up. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't sure what that was until my therapist then said, people fear their own failures. They hold back on building things. They hold back on starting the business of their dreams, or a project that they've been saying. Like I'm sure people have an art set, like a paint palette, and they say, oh, I'm going to paint soon. 2 years later, still hasn't painted and it's gathering dust. Because people are afraid to fail. So the negativity I'm receiving from very small people is because they can't accept their failures. Therefore, they can't accept that I'm actually going through failures and still succeeding. Mm-hmm. I'd say it's difficult to comprehend because they don't believe themselves enough. I didn't really understand it then, but the more I think about it, I guess it makes sense. And it doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means internally they're struggling with self-belief, right? If you're afraid of failure, you definitely wouldn't start your project.
Yep.
But if you can accept that failure is key, it is part of success, it is part of the building blocks of your future, then you dive right in. Yeah. I think that's what I've been doing.
No. When is the ultimate test when you become public, and again different proportions. I consider myself to be a student compared to you, but when I went through a series of evenings of intense panic that I didn't tell anyone.
Oh, really?
But about thinking how people in my circle were going to react.
Yes, but that's part of the failure.
Especially in my work.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay. And then when, of course, I'm very proud, so I was not going to back down. So I went through it. I published the first 5 or 6 episodes. And then I felt liberated.
Yes.
Because, yes, you might expose yourself to some comments. But in general, you realize that really most people don't care. There are more supportive people than people that they project their own problems.
Yes.
And then you feel like finally, because of this podcast, I felt like in many senses I could be myself. Mm-hmm. So this is something that there is a price to pay on the wrong side, but there is a price to pay on the positive side.
I'm glad you've overcome that.
Oh,
I just have to say.
But the problem, my philosophy is the problem is you need to just kick them like head
first,
and then butt head them, and you'll be fine. I'm from northern Spain, so we are a little bit rough in the way we look at life. One of the good things is that probably your success has come faster than it would have because I guess that I'm understanding that your goal is building a community. Building a community with the reach of technology is a little bit faster than just by mouth to ear. Yep. The question to you is, do you think that now mouth to ear still works, or is it only just about social media and the looks that we project on this type of platforms?
I like this question. I believe, did you say mouth to ear?
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
chuckling. Is it word of mouth? I think it's
but
mouth to ear in Spain.
I'm like Antonio Banderas, so I speak in a special way.
I love it.
Word to mouth. Yes,
okay. Word of mouth. I'm gonna use the mouth to ear. it works because the community is about women, and the truth is women love to talk. We love to talk about things that we like or that made us feel good. And I would like to believe that these two things are what people say about women of Hong Kong. I think digital marketing works. Obviously, it's must to build a business anywhere in the city right now, or in the current world that we live in. You have to be a little bit active on social media, at least found. You don't have to be extremely engaged. But word of mouth, you can't beat that. It's a trust signal. I could tell you that I'm really good in marketing, but if your best friend says Sarah's really good in marketing, you're going to buy. So
Sure.
word of mouth it's powerful. You can't really replace that.
That's I completely agree. Despite the fact that some people don't follow this, I still believe that the old school approach, still knocking in doors and
Yes.
shaking hands, works a lot.
Did you hear about the percentage of face-to-face versus Zooms and calls? I think the relationship is built better in person. You get 80% of that connection because of the body language, because of looking at each other or facial expressions.
Yeah.
I think it's 60 or 50% over Zoom because you get a little bit of that. And over a phone call, you just hear voice, right? Sometimes people sound a little tired or sad. And I think people would take that as a no, or maybe a negative conversation. And yeah, you really can't beat in-person meetings or conversations. It's
0%.
different. It's
0%.
different.
I
think it's energy too.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain phases of the conversation that you just don't get on Zoom. People on Zoom are waiting for the call to finish. When I was with a client last week, and a Japanese client, and I love Japanese, even though sometimes they're nerve-wracking because it takes a lot of time to read them.
Okay.
And especially with shy Japanese, because there are levels of there is the outgoing Japanese, there is the average Japanese, and there is the shy Japanese. But the shy Japanese is as important in a business meeting because they have an interesting perspective that you need to bring in. On a Zoom call, you would never listen to them. On a face-to-face meeting, you talk for an hour, you create a nice environment, and then when I think the meeting is finished, those people start asking intelligent questions.
Yes.
And that dimension, just we did not enjoy it when COVID was around. So nowadays, yes, I do Zoom meetings because they're just a little bit better to do just than phone calls. You can share the screen, you can point and stuff and so on. I try to keep them shorter than 25 minutes because I know that the important thing, this is just a catch-up. So I have, with all of my clients, I have a monthly catch-up that's done over Zoom because I cannot go to Sydney every month.
Yes.
But I still go to Sydney twice a year. And that's a different story. And that's when I put things forward. When we push initiatives, it's in face to face. When we do Zoom, we just see if we are going in line with the targets or if there is something to course correct.
I have a question for you.
Go.
So you mentioned that, for the shy Japanese professionals, they ask the intelligent questions at the end. Why do you think that is? Is it their extreme level of being observant or just really shy?
It might very well be. It might be as well that, in a room there is always more alpha people than others. So maybe you'll say there is people that let's say take their turn of speaking in a more proactive way, and those people are outshined. Maybe it's me that I am big and tall and scary, so until you find out that I'm actually a friendly guy, it takes a little bit of time. Maybe because it just takes some time to be comfortable. I am sure that I've done a lot of public speaking in my life. I do it almost every week, to be frank. And Now it's fine. I'm almost 40, and life is beautiful, and I couldn't care less about these things. But when I was 10 years ago, the first, I mean, the hour prior to me speaking in public, it was terrifying. The first 2 minutes were like being on a roller coaster.
Oh my
But
gosh.
then, when I was into the presentation, I was on a roll, and then I didn't have nerves. So I think for a meeting, for a face-to-face meeting, for some people it's the same. They feel nervous at the beginning, and then when they realize that there is no tiger
There's
jumping
no
at
fear.
you, then it's like, okay, I'm fine. I can now ask the difficult question.
Yeah. But
That's-
what's that fear? People have that fear of
But I-
meeting people, or like I even disclosed to you, I'm a little nervous
Yeah.
about the conversation. And you're right. Like as we ease into it, we subconsciously realize, oh, there's no fear. We start to relax into it. But what is the fear? What are we afraid of?
I think it's just something anthropological.
I like that.
No, it's true. Let's say when we our let's say many millennia ago, when you were put in front of the whole tribe, it was because probably you were being
Voted
being
out.
judged, voted out, or you were gonna be
Yes.
killed.
Yes,
So
ostracized.
Ostracized.
That's what it was.
We have been programmed to be that way. You,
Mm.
even when I was 16, 17, 18, I was extremely outspoken. I would speak in front of a lot of people. I didn't care. In front of my class in high school, I could get up and speak. I was used to it. Then I lost it I studied engineering. So before I got back to, having a job that required me to speak in front of people, there was a period of total silence. It was a muscle. It was like a muscle. I lost the ability. When I came back, the first year I was panicking constantly, and now I swear to you, I just couldn't care less.
Yeah, it's a muscle. You've trained it.
Yeah, I
You've
train it.
trained
Yeah. So this is when you do a podcast like this.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend over a year ago, and I was telling him I want to do a podcast, and why do you want to do it? And I'm like, if I list the reasons why I want to do them and the reasons why I don't want to do them, the only intelligent thing is to do the podcast.
Yes.
One of those reasons was the fact that this is like going to the gym for public speaking. It's true. So now when I'm in the meeting with someone, I can wing it in meetings like you cannot imagine. Like the time of preparation for my meetings now is like 10% of
I
what
hear
it was
you.
before.
I hear
So
you.
everything is, I would say to everyone that has fears of doing anything, just try.
Just jump into it.
Just try many times.
It hurts a couple, the first couple times. You mentioned you like ice baths, right?
Yes.
So I think it's similar to that. The first one would kind of suck, but then your body starts to tune into it too, because it's got this innate need to feel that rush.
Yes, the thing about ice baths is that they still suck.
They
every
still
time.
suck.
Yeah, but then but your brain knows it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
So now it's not a novelty. So you start
Exactly.
thinking about something else.
But the fear is gone.
Yeah.
The
So-
fear of trying it is gone.
Okay. Let me be a little more specific when it comes to public speaking. It's not that I don't get nervous. Is
It's
that
still
is
there.
that I feel it now. It's a sensation that is intrinsic to the activity. So when I start, I don't know, say feeling heat on the back of my neck, or having higher BPMs than normal, I know it's something that has to happen. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
So I don't think about it anymore. And eventually those BPMs go down. And but instead of looking at it as something that is going to make me suffer, now I know that those higher BPMs are a response to the adrenaline shot that my body is giving me, so I wake up and I deliver.
Yeah. Like that. That's powerful.
But you need to be a little bit older. This is why being older is better than being younger. I
have heard that because I hosted a panel at the Women's Lounge for International Women's Day. And one of the out of the box topics that we did was ageism. So I invited women that were in their 50s or 60s to talk. And there were so many surprising pieces of knowledge that they shared that I wouldn't have guessed. Like one would be they have so much more energy. Like they could run marathons now versus when they were younger. But also too, just being of age, you've tried things over and over again. The fear has left.
Yeah.
It might still be sitting with you, the fear, but the courage is much bigger to try things. And also, I think one of the ladies said she just doesn't give a fuck as much as she used to. Because then she realized there's not a lot of things to really care about in the sense that we cared too much about meaningless things.
Yeah. And even in social interactions, like, obviously I'm not the most introvert person out there, but I have to say now I have zero problems in going to talk to someone. A, because I've done it for a long time.
Yep.
B, I'm not a 15-year-old trying to impress a girl. C, because I sell things for life, so I just have to talk to people. And again, it becomes part of who you are. And then there is another one that I'm starting to discover right now, which is very powerful. No one gives a crap about who you are and what you say. It's not that important. There is Gianni Agnelli, who was the president of Fiat Group in Italy. An amazing guy. It's like, before Berlusconi, he was the ultimate Italian icon. And he said, the secret for Fiat men is that we don't take ourselves seriously, but but when we do things, we do them seriously. And that's, I think, the perfect claim. And just
I love that.
Don't take yourself seriously, because no one really people forget about
have
you.
Have fun a little bit. Figure it out.
If you screw up, if you fumble words out, when you think that people are going to think about that the whole evening when they get home, no, they have children, they have friends, they have a sick family member.
They have many things other than your fumbling to think about.
That's my point. My point.
That's good to remember.
It's important to remember. Let me go back to you for a second. I wrote here, Sarah V did a very ballsy move by starting a company, or let's say a company and space as a women's lounge in a moment in which Hong Kong is contracting a lot.
Yep.
How is that going for you? How do you overcome the fears of, let's say, launching an activity in this moment of time?
I have to say, it's not what I expected. I had prepared a lot on my end. The perfectionism part of me was taking the steering wheel, and I thought I had all my grounds covered. But I believe that's also a great example of what it's like to be okay if something doesn't go your way. The trick is to pivot. So initially, the plan for the women's lounge was to build it like a membership lounge, but both in a good and bad way. My plan didn't work out. So that's the bad side. But the good news is it opened so many more doors of what we could do with it instead. Instead, it's become a hub for our members to host their private events. It's become a space for us to help with our members if they needed any marketing services. We were able to host workshops for them or with them, do photo shoots, turn the meeting room into an impromptu podcast space, not as glorious as yours, of course. We need advice.
People are not going to believe you. This is not glorious. I just have a painting at the back of a painting here.
All right, everyone, I'm going to host a tour of this glorious podcast room next week at 2 p.m. Come see me at the lounge. We'll start there. It's a good place. But so the lounge has now evolved it from my first idea of what it should be into, again, this is the second time it's happened, to what the members want it to be, which is the most beautiful thing. If I may go back to how I built the WhatsApp chats, the community, I had this idea of starting a chat just for women to enter. And that was it. It was as simple as adding your email to the landing page I built. I'm a coding nerd. And you get an automated email that sends you the link to the WhatsApp group. Very simple. Of course, again, I didn't prepare myself for the landslide of interest. So we quickly grew to 3,000 by 6 months of announcing it. Incredible. But of course, on the side note, I already had about 500 contacts on the side. So we catapulted quite quickly with the help of everyone. And then this is what brings me to why I'm sharing that, is because I started to build a website with what I believe the network would want, the network would need, and why we should do X, Y, Z. And I had a eureka moment. I don't know if you know about this, but Einstein had a silver ball one time, and he would try to go take a nap. If he wanted an idea, he would let the ball fall, right? Because if you're falling asleep, your body goes limp. So every time the ball would clang on the plate on the floor, he would wake up with the idea. So it's a type of brainwave where you get all these beautiful ideas. And I had that eureka moment where it was like, okay, hold on. Before I execute and create all these pages, why don't I just simply ask the already busy chats what they want? And I'm glad I did that. It was such a huge contrast. If I thought everybody wanted blue and pink, the whole community said they wanted red and yellow.
Okay. Wow.
And that was the first lesson of me realizing the community is not going to be built on what I think should be done. It's always going to be built on what the network believes is good for them. It's really a collective movement. And again, the Women's Lounge, as much as I asked for help on getting the paint, the interiors, I had forgotten, in my rush of building it, I had forgotten to ask, what do we need?
Yep.
So that was my hard lesson to learn after we opened. It wasn't what I thought it was, but after the help of the community, when they heard that, oh, there's a bid for ideas on how we should better use the space, they just came through. It's as busy as ever now. And I would have to say, thank you, Control Issues, for taking a back seat and being open to other people's ideas. That's the lesson I got from building the lounge.
It's a super nice message. It's a super nice message. Sometimes I think, have you watched the film, the cartoon In and Out?
Yes, I love it.
Have you seen
I've
the
seen
second
both,
one?
Yeah.
I've
seen the second one twice.
I watched the second one the other day, and I think it's very important to actually realize that there are certain, let's say, characters within ourselves.
Yes.
And sometimes, as you said, it's very nice to let someone take the back seat, and let
someone else take the steering wheel for a second.
Businesses are like living entities. They are born, they grow up, they have puberty, and then they become mature. So I think it's super cool. One of the things that you've been very busy, but one of the things that caught my eye long time ago was the Sunday activity, I believe, in which you educate financially Filipino domestic helpers. And for me, it was it struck a very sensitive chord, probably because a big part of my family are teachers, and they have been teachers for generations. So not teachers in modern classrooms and so on. Teachers that would be on the countryside, and whose students would be the children of farmers and peasants, that they would go to school and then they would go right out to work after that. And the role of these teachers was extremely important, because it was the only way in which those students could socially climb up. So when people, NGOs and charities, they focus a lot on giving out. I'm going to give away money. I'm going to feed you for today. I'm like, somehow I have a negative impulse at the beginning. It's like, but on the other side, when I saw that you were creating this initiative that I don't know a lot about, I felt suddenly, I don't know, I loved it from minute zero. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about it, how it came about, where is it now, have you had some success, who had the idea, how did it happen?
Ooh, a lot of questions there.
Let's reply to the question that you like.
Let's start. It's always going to be a long-winded answer, but I believe I should start with my mom. My mom came to Hong Kong when she was 18 as a domestic helper. So a person like me in my shoes, being able to do what I can, being able to live here, have the right of abode is because of the hard work of my mother. Luckily for her, not so lucky for the friends that she had. She had really good employers. She had really good friends. Even her employers supported her when she fell pregnant with me, and she was still able to continue working. And you can imagine that kindness that was given to her has developed this, me sitting here. Little kindness for our aunts. We call them aunties, the aunties of our city. The other sentence I like to describe them with is the backbone of this city, because that's the truth.
Yeah.
When we're at work, doing our jobs, going on our vacations, who's taking care of the house and the kids?
100%.
They're literally the backbone of this city. Even governments have them. Everybody has aunties. Most households have aunties. And if it's not in your households, it's in your business.
Yep.
Why I do it is because I know the impact of the little things that you could do for them would really greatly impact them in ways of encouraging them to strive for more, but also not just to get paycheck to paycheck. Knowledge, right? You say a lot of people give food and money and classes, but it's more for entertainment. Can we focus on giving the aunties of our city financial education?
Yep.
What about legal education? What about a way out? I was able to sit down with a wonderful friend and member. Her name is Grace, and she's actually the founder of the business called Fulfills. So it's a charity organization that was actually built by her son, Emilio.
Mm-hmm.
So Emilio and his mom, Grace, had this great idea after having that heartbreaking moment of walking through the bridges in Central and just seeing aunties after aunties in tent boxes. Like, dude, it's raining today.
Yep.
Where do you think they're sitting?
Yep.
You know, like it's raining this weekend. We don't have a space for them. So I had gotten together with Grace and Emilio and said, I would love to offer this space. Let's work on figuring out when you need them. And the credit really does go to them. I'm looking for people and initiatives to give the space to, because that's what I can contribute on my end. But it doesn't take away from the importance and the belief that I have in why we should be continuing to create these activations. Yes, we're all busy in our lives, but I mean, Sunday is once a week. It's not that hard to give back. If you have all these educational self-help books sitting at the side, you know, pop them over to the women's lounge and we give them to the aunties to take home. If you have a professional skill you'd like to offer, come talk to us and we'll open the venue for free. It's free for them. What we ask is that you also donate your time and services for free. Nobody gets monetary value from here unless the aunties request something, which I know is also illegal. So we find other ways to contribute to them. But I think just going back to Fulfills, it's so great what they do. They try to get scholars on board and sponsorships to cover those scholarships so that the aunties have a different direction and a career path in life. So that's our contribution. It's sponsoring the venue and marketing it out to contacts that could help.
Nice, it's super. I think it gives. You have the strength of the numbers of the community of Women's Lounge, but this type of initiatives gives soul to the company, to the space. It's very nice, and even if I am not a part of the Women's of Hong Kong for obvious reasons, let's say
you are an ally.
I admire what you do. I applaud that. I'm afraid I didn't fulfill my promise of keeping the podcast short because this has been an extremely easy and fluid conversation. Sarah, we are almost at the hour mark.
Okay.
I want to thank you for coming here. It was super nice.
Thank you.
I tell you, it's well if it ends well.
Yes.
So we made it, and we made it in the right way. I'm sure that we will cross paths in the future because
Absolutely.
you have sparkly mind, and I like minds that are so active. And I say to everyone, this episode is not about me because I'm here all the time. It's about you. So this is your camera. Just tell people who you are, where they can find you, anything that you have going on. And before I let you last word, everyone, have a happy Sunday, happy weekend. Sorry. I have an intermittent fasting mind. I don't know what I'm saying. This is going to be published on a Friday, so everyone is going to be about to go on their weekends. Be happy. Sarah, thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Shall I say?
Yeah. That's what that's for you. You close the show.
Okay. So again, my name is Sarah. I founded the community called Women of Hong Kong, and all I have to say is just remember to be kind to people and connect each other with each other. Don't gatekeep good things, because we all need resources to succeed in life. Find me at the Women's Lounge or sign up as a free member if you're a female to womenofhongkong.com. I'll see you guys soon.
Awesome. Cheers. Thank you, Sarah. Ciao, ciao. That was the podcast.
Very cool. I love that. I did. As a